This is what you'll see me working out today, finding various shapes and little creatures in the painting. Hello y'all! Today you can see me work out this Decalcomania print that I made in the first part of this video. If you missed the printing part, here is the link. The print I made with watercolors, and the workout is with colored pencils and also some oil paint for the sky later. I'm starting with a pine green that fits the watercolor that I used for the print. Depending on how you move the transparent sheet, you can have little coral-like structures like here, or you can get those wavy patterns you see on the left side and in the red part. And Beverly said, hello Beverly, that the structures remind her of an undersea scape often. And it's the same with me. I always tend to think of these structures as corals or undersea flowers. But the creatures I'm finding later, they're all more like land creatures. I have made an undersea seascape with an octopus. Here is the link to that video. For the shadows of the red shapes here, I'm using a black pencil because the red pencil is not dark enough. And I use the black pencil only in like little parts, not all around, so that it doesn't look too artificial. In some parts I'm adding a little bit of red too. You can work out your creatures with a strong, bold line if you want to have a comic-like look. I've done that before. Maybe I should make a video about that. Comic figures. This is a kind of a rock or rocky figure, I'd say. But it has organic shapes in it, so it's sort of a living rock. Or maybe rocks are alive anyway. Depends on how you see them. Up here there is a corona, something like a corona. But I'm not going to turn this one into an animal or anything. I want it to stay a rock. And you can see down there that there's a missing part where the Decalcomania didn't work. I think there must have been a lack of gesso, so it didn't really react. It just sunk into the paper right away. But I'm going to deal with that later. For now, I'm just working out these wavy structures. And I so love them. It is real beautiful. Here I'm trying a UniPin fineliner for the very dark shadows here. But this is the only space in the painting that I'm using this on. I'll stick to the pencils. You can see with my finger I'm dabbing off where the marks are too dark. So back to the pencil. The brown and the green shapes are melting into each other, and I want to keep that. It's a dreamy landscape. On the right side, they are not melting into each other so much, so I can give them some side shadows here. And I wanted to introduce this instrument, although I do not know what it's called. You use it to smudge the pencil or blur it, and I have no idea what this thing is called. It's a little bit like an eraser, but it only erases just like the hard edges and so. Wonderful tool, but of course you can also use your fingers. You just have to take care not to smudge too much. Smudge too much. Was that a song? I think there's a song to everything in life. And over here on the right side there's a blank spot, and this is going to be also a part of the sky that I'm painting later. So I'm giving it a good dark shadow here. This rocky tree. A lot of these wavy shapes, they turn into a sort of a funnel up there. And I want to have some air bubbles or water bubbles coming out of them. As though there's a secret little air bubble factory beneath it into the funnel. And of course I have to make the surroundings a little darker. And here I'm making the highlight with a white colored pencil. This looks like an air bubble. I'm making it a bit darker without losing the background shapes so that you can see it's transparent still. And still blurring it further. First I thought the red shapes were blooms, roses of some sort. But I guess you can also see something in there that I cannot yet admit. I'm working on the wavy structures as well, giving it some real dark shadows with the black. And we'll see what this creature will be. This is an open structure too, so I am again creating some sort of a bubble coming out of it. But this will not keep the creature screaming at me. Work me out, you know what I am. I'm using a lot of white here. I don't want a white highlight for now. But I'm making it lighter on the top. And here's another one coming out of the green tree, of the green plant. Now, and I should really have done this earlier, I'm spraying a protecting spray over the whole painting because this watercolor spray is actually working very well for the working out with the pencils. And so it is a little easier, especially for the very subtle, fine, blurred spaces. This is a coral orange or coral red, I think it's called. And here is the first creature that I see. It's not the first that I see, but it's the first I work out. Can you already guess what it is? This is a wing. And here's the head and the neck. Do birds have necks? I don't know. I won't work it out too much. I want it to stay shyly in the back. And give it some feathers. Sorry, no real face for that bird, because we see it from the back. But I'm giving it a beak. I'm changing to quite a dark Indian red. We're working out more animals there. This actually doesn't show itself until a little later. It will become a walrus. And now it has an eye to look at me. And next to it there is a fish that I'm working out, and I don't know why I said there are no sea creatures here. There's totally the opposite. There seem to be a lot of sea creatures here, but I still want this to be a dry landscape. Some more dark walnut brown on the rocky shapes. And here you can see quite well how the brown merges into the orange spheres, and I'm giving them a shadow, but I want to keep the orange there. And here's a very obvious face. This was actually the first that I saw in it. And I can't say what it is, what kind of creature. But it'll get a second eye here. And down here at the chin, there's some kind of, this is kind of a strange chin. I have no idea. Maybe you can tell what animal this is? And I'm inventing some nostrils here. They're not really convincing, are they? I'm going back to the right side. This green is also very light, and I see quite a few things in it. Mostly water drops. These are green rocks maybe, but no water drops. You know, Max Ernst, who I'm following in these two videos, he very often paints humans that he sees emerging there. A lot of naked women. I'm not against naked women, but I do see animals all the time. I think it's for everybody's liking, and the satisfying thing about this is that you're working something that your mind makes up. So not necessarily a Max Ernst painting. This actually becomes my painting while I'm working it out. And this is what is the most fun to me. You should really try it. But you need interesting structures to inspire you. At least I do. And this doesn't always work. It works a lot with the gel plate prints. Here's another fish, by the way. And it almost always works with the Decalcomania technique. And that's why I love this technique so much. But don't worry, I'll get back to the gel plate soon. What a cute little fish. No fins though. Sorry. Down here there's more red flowers, and they actually also turned into something like corals. Well, then maybe it is a seascape. Whatever. A little left to it you see there is a coral that has red and green in it. Especially interesting, I think. And here I'm darkening more of those interesting patterns. They really become alive just by a few little shadows. Isn't that amazing? This dark green thingy is actually my favorite part of the painting. and also there's bubbles or rocks coming out of it. I think the whole painting is just a large organ producing water bubbles and rocks all the time. This looks like an undersea volcano, doesn't it? Maybe it's something like that. I'm working on that wavy coral down there. And to the left, you'll see there's like 3 little animals, like piglets. I'm gonna work those out too. The further I dive into this, the more details I see, the more creatures emerge. I guess I could go on like this forever with this painting. But I gotta finish this video. So as most of these are producing air bubbles or some other kind of bubble, I got to do that here too. And I want to have more than just one bubble, and I want them to be up in the air. And in that area where there's no watercolor, it actually, although I sprayed it, is harder to paint on, to draw on with a pencil. So maybe it's not the spray I use, maybe it's just the watercolor that makes it easier for the pencil. I don't know. It still works though. Now I can't resist this face, and I'm giving it a second bubble and some highlights because those are 2 eyes now. And I think it's even a bulldog, like my dog. Big mouth that says, "Feed me." And finally I see that this is not just the bulldog's head, it's also the body of a bulldog. And it took me until now to see that. And it is a red bulldog. I think I'm going to name this painting the Red Bulldog. And sorry, this is reflecting the light a little bit because I sprayed it, but you don't really see it. It's a matte spray. Hind legs, no tail, no paws. Well, maybe this is a paw. Now working out the 3 little piglets. I don't know why I say piglets. They don't look like piglets at all. More like moles, maybe. Moles. And those teardrops, water drops, have become eyes now. And I'm giving them some tiny lips. For that little walrus, I'm looking up a walrus in my historical sketchbook with animals. And of course, the important thing are the 2 front teeth. Now, finally, for the sky, I made a test with the oil paints of how the fading sky would be, maybe a little lighter than this one. But first I have to take out all the errors and little spots there with the gesso. It's a white opaque gesso, or primer as you would say. This is the first thing I do. I need 2 layers in some parts, and then I have to let it dry, of course. And this is a gesso that you can paint over with oil paints easily. And I'm also painting the white areas because I want the underground for the oil paint to be the same everywhere. Otherwise, it wouldn't look so nice, probably. And I'm making the green between the ears of the bulldog go away. And that looks much nicer, I think. So I'm coming in with the oil paint. The water-based oil paint, you can paint over gesso, you can paint over acrylics, even over watercolor, and you can still rub it away. I'm starting with the cerulean blue. Oh, by the way, this is the water-based oil color that you can water down and also clean all your tools easily with soap and water. And also, when I'm rubbing in with my fingers later, it is not poisonous as regular oil colors. Those I would never rub with a finger. I'm speeding this up a lot. I'm basically using the white oil paint to blend with the blue oil paint and to get the blue part lighter and to make a real nice blending here. And this is the fun part. Paint with your fingers. That is so much fun. You really have to try this. I can't say why. Maybe it's because we all did this as children. Painting with fingers is real fun. And it makes everything real nice and smooth. The reason why I wanted a sky here is, and another paint also, is because I wanted this to have more contrast. You know, contrasts make a painting real interesting. It's not only the light and dark contrast and the opaque and the transparent contrast. It's also the technique of the Decalcomania with watercolor as opposed to the oil paint effect in the sky. I think that's what this makes this painting very unique. Here I've painted over the watercolor again, but you can just rub it off. And I'm just using that light blue I have on my finger to fill in here on the right side so that it's not too white. Still don't like that strange spot on the brown rock there. So I'm sort of opening it up to the back as if there were 2 holes. I'm also using the oil color for this. And then I decided that I didn't like it that way, so I'm taking a bit of the paint off as if I have an inner space in those holes. And then I didn't like that because of the orange rocky sphere behind it. So I painted where you see through it, I painted that orange too. And even tried a little Decalcomania again. Didn't really work that great. And after I finished this, I couldn't help it, I saw 2 more figures. One is a frog, another land and sea animal, land and lake animal maybe. And here's another fellow from outer space, I guess. I gotta stop at some point here. So this is it. What do you think? I'd say I feel a little closer to Max Ernst now, but this is my own fantasy landscape, my own realm. And I had so much fun with this, and I hope it inspired you to try something like this too. And I'll see you next week. Bye.